I done told you this a while ago. Ain't none of those guys fighting for your freedom. Hi guys, this is another podcast on my nightly commute. Just to talk a little bit about them election results. And as it stands, we really don't know who the president is going to be for the next 4 years, but it definitely looks like the guy on the left will be the fellow. So I wanted to kind of bring up this podcast to talk a little bit about how that affects you and how should you react at presidential debates. And I remember way back in 2008, I remember I was so naive and so mad that the guy I didn't really have a person in 2008, but the guy that I wanted to win didn't win. And it wasn't so much that the guy I wanted to win, it was the guy that I didn't want to win won. And for whatever reason, I latched on to that guy, and I was in my early 20s, I was young, I was pretty stupid. But for whatever reason, I was very angry at the individual who became president. And I couldn't, it wasn't just beyond politics. I personally had anger for that individual. And I was young and impressionable, and I was listening to the wrong radio stations at the time, AM radio at the time. This was before the days of YouTube. And it was out, but I think it was out, but it wasn't available to me. I didn't have a smartphone or anything like that. I don't even think the internet connection on our phones could play YouTube at the time. So I was listening to talk radio all the time and just listening to people and being essentially brainwashed. And it turns out the guy that got elected, didn't harm me personally at all. And I actually did really well the next 2 years. And I look at that and analyze that, why was I so angry? And why did I do so well? Well, obviously there are things outside of my control, like living in the United States, having a pulse, being able to speak English and read and, have skills, and those things attributed. But also I think that I changed. I evolved. My work ethic got better, smarter. I focused on some specialties in my skills. I learned how to manage my finances. I set goals and achieved those goals. And when I failed on some goals, I got back up and went and worked back at those goals, or got advice to overcome those goals. And that's how I succeeded under that guy that became president. Yeah, he may have passed laws that some way indirectly hindered me or made my life better. But looking at the individual pivot points, like the decisions, the areas where I know I've reached the next level in my goals, there was no federal law that stopped me from waking up early and staying up late working on my goal. There was no federal goal stopping me from doing that. There was also no federal goal helping me wake up to do that, or helping pump some more caffeine in my body 11 p.m. at night to study. So there was no federal program doing that for me. That was all me. And I think that's why I succeeded. And I think why I was angry was because I was impressionable and I was not happy with my life at that moment. And if you've read any of my or listened to any of my content here, in my early 20s, I was working at a restaurant, and I've said this a million times, but I was unhappy. I was very unhappy with the direction of my life. And what I thought was interesting was the more I decided to work on my life and not the world's problems, because when I was in 2008, I was focusing more on the world's problems and the people who need to be in the office to make things better for the world, foreign countries. These are the people, these are the stresses that I was taking on. When instead, I decided, to focus on myself. What's in my control? What can I produce? And that helped me. I think it definitely calmed my anger. And at the guy the guy who became president, but it also saw that, oh wow, the more I invest in myself and not the world's problems, the better off I'll be. So my philosophy for these candidates is I don't have a party affiliation. I am an individual guy here. I think for myself. I don't affiliate myself, with tribalism. It doesn't mean I won't vote for a particular party member or not, but I'm not a registered Republican. I'm not a registered Democrat. None of that. But what I was getting at is I look for a candidate that's going to give me the most freedom. And none of those candidates in office are ever going to talk about freedom and individual responsibility. But ultimately, my story, anecdotal as it may be, talks about a guy who took on more responsibility and worked a little bit harder, and that's really how I made my life better. So these individuals who are promising things that they can't deliver are just trying to consolidate power. Now, that doesn't mean that their hearts aren't in the wrong place. I don't know somebody's inward heart, but I do know commentary that are leaked audio. I do know that both individuals on both sides, regardless of their personality or who they are, want to consolidate power. They want to get things done. And that's actually conflict. Our government was made to not be efficient. Our government was made for it to be arduous to pass laws and legislation. There you go. Almost missed that one up. And that process, that tedious 3-power process, was made to be arduous and inefficient because that's the only shield against tyranny. So again, I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories. I ultimately think both these guys running in their heart want what is best for this country, because I believe people are innocent until proven guilty. But I don't think they're fighting for me. I don't think they're fighting for you. I think you need to fight for you, and you shouldn't lose an ounce of sleep by either one who's coming in power, because at the end of the day, if you are the first one to show up and the last one to leave, your life is going to be better. That's all I have. Have a good night.